Hello, my name is Tomas Norman, and this is my Social Work 643 Youth and Pop Culture digital essay. Substance abuse in our communities and urban youth epidemic. The association between drug addiction and the onset of childhood trauma later in life in urban settings among ethnic and minority people has been researched. The residents of these communities are exposed to higher rates of criminal activity and drug misuse, beginning in infancy and continuing into maturity. These settings are critical, but also pose a significant danger to young people on their path to adulthood. In addition, adults from ethnic minorities and urban communities are increasingly battling substance abuse, a serious concern. The greater prevalence of drug abuse in these economically deprived cities will continue to be a challenge for people's mental health for many generations. Substance abuse. Multiple variables contribute to substance addiction and dependence, including genetic predisposition, environmental stresses, social pressures, individual personality features, and psychiatric issues. Within genetic predisposition, youth can be born to pre- genetic predisposition within the uterus, within the stages of development, within being the birthing process. Environmental stresses can include trauma, violence, and drug distribution within the environment based on the need to survive. Social pressures can be from social media, advertising within our TV and ads in today's setting, peers as well as the school environment and within the environment overall. For our urban youth being exposed to risk on a daily basis such as violence, lack of resources, drug trafficking, potential gang violence, living within these high-risk areas, trauma is more likely to develop based on the environmental factors. Trauma-exposed individuals experience PTSD symptoms, often misuse alcohol. Nearly 42% of the people in the United States with PTSD meet lifetime criteria for an alcohol use disorder. Effects of substance misuse can affect the individual's cognitive ability and overall health and wellness. At least 70% of heavy episodic drinkers report experiencing at least one negative consequence of their alcohol use in the past year, including risky behavior, for example, drinking and driving, interpersonal problems such as relationship conflicts, and worsened academic and workplace performance. These issues within substance abuse can affect our youth within school settings and can affect them overall within development into adulthood. For a treatment plan with people with substance abuse issues and or dependency issues, the number one thing should be done when working with a client is to rule out substance abuse or misuse when working with the client overall, as well as reviewing family history for substance abuse. A long-term goal should be develop a plan to address relapse issues. A plan could be such as establishing support networks to assist with substance abuse and misuse that enhance recovery, or maintain a plan to abstain from substance use or misuse. Following those goals, there should always be short-term goals to follow to support those long-term goals for the client and each system within those clients. For example, a system could be affecting the client overall and could be impacting the client, thus triggering their initial feelings towards use of substance misuse, and or it can make them feel the need to use, depending on the setting and how stressful the environment could be. So, understanding triggers to avoid and utilize coping skills when feeling triggered is to the utmost importance with any client. That way they can avoid use in the future. Develop problem solving skills and coping skills to abstain from use is also important and vital. Problem solving skills can help the client understand certain situations and scenarios. That way, it can develop an overall perspective taking and how to handle a certain situation based on the problem, such as understanding the problem, deciding a choice to figure out the problem, understand the consequences of each problem with each choice they make, and understand the many solutions with each choice they make. Coping skills to help abstain from each use could help develop, such as reduce anxiety within the environment, thus to avoid triggers to fuel the usage of the substance, as well as identifying any negative consequences of usage, so even the short term or even long term, such as even being kicked out of a certain program where they're using, losing their jobs. It could be also in the long term, such as even going to prison and building a record, unfortunately. And these problems are found within our youth every day within the U.S. That's an ongoing problem, and it continues to plague our urban communities. Another short-term goal for the client will attend drug treatment or support groups. Support groups can help each client with treatment, such as finding a support network within a partner to help confide themselves in within that program. That way they can have certain talks about issues whenever they feel the need to, and that person can also help them talk them out of it or support them within the need, such as even go to their house or even go help them at the moment to help avoid use and misuse. Client will identify a certain number of replacement behaviors in place of substance abuse per session. I think that's always important when we work with a client. That way you can develop certain skills over time and work in every session. That way the client can always have an understanding of what's met and what is going on within the treatment, as well as going along with the goals within the treatment. Within our urban youth and urban settings, clients have felt not accepted when trying to find treatment, unfortunately, within certain settings, based on the clinicians as well as the people who are providing the clinical treatment. People of color usually feel comfortable based on my experience working with other people of color, and I think it's really important to increase the amount of clinicians of color within our urban youth and environments, thus being able to break down barriers within these communities of color to be able to, in hopes to create a more self-seeking environment. That way we can hopefully create more treatment plans and preventative measures for our communities of color. And in the future, I hope we can create more preventative measures within our community, such as Baltimore City and overall within the U.S. At the moment, we have many financial resources, and overall, working with each client, we should also understand each stages of change, such as the pre-contemplation stage, the contemplation stage, the determination stage, the action stage, which is when the goals come in, the maintenance stage, where they help the client maintain those goals as well as maintain certain environments that can help provide support networks for that client over time, as well as keep those networks maintained and relationships maintained, as well as understand that when working with people with substance abuse, the reoccurrence stage, when the client is most at risk for sometimes relapsing in these cases. Understand that client stages of change is also important and vital when working with each client. That way we can understand what level they're at and whether they're at the level where if they're willing to start the goal process and treatment plan process, or further rapport building needs to be built upon.